You're looking for a gaming laptop that actually fits into your day-to-day life, something you can fire up for a marathon raid, then close and carry to a coffee shop without feeling like you've just lugged a desktop around. The fear of splurging on a machine that's either a thermal nightmare or a niceto that never quite lives up to the hype is real, especially when the market is flooded with glossy specs that sound great on paper but fall flat when you're trying to stream, edit, or just game on a cramped dorm desk. Link is in the description if you want to check the product details on Amazon. Let's dig into the HP Omen 16 and see whether it delivers on the promise of a flagship-class experience while staying practical enough for everyday use. First off, the size and shape are pretty standard for a 16-inch gaming laptop, a slim chassis that's still thick enough to house a robust cooling system. That thickness is where the hidden trade-off lies. HP has opted for a more aggressive thermal solution, which means you'll notice a slight bulk compared with ultra-thin notebooks, but the heat stays under control even when you push the RTX 5070 to its limits in a modern title like Cyberpunk 2077. If you're okay with a laptop that's a little heavier than a pure ultra-portable, you gain stability where it matters. The display is a 16.0-inch WUXGA panel with a 144Hz refresh rate. It's not a 4K screen, but the 1920x1200 resolution actually feels nicer for gaming because the pixels are a bit larger, making text and UI elements easier to read during fast-paced sessions. The anti-glare coating does a decent job in bright rooms, so you can game near a window without the washout you get on some glossy panels. In practice, I found the 144Hz refresh to be the sweet spot for competitive shooters. My mouse movements feel fluid, and the frame times stay consistently low when the GPU is running under load. Now onto the heart of the machine, the Intel Core Ultra 9 285H paired with the RTX 5070. The Ultra 9 is part of Intel's latest line, built on a hybrid architecture that mixes performance cores with efficient cores. In real-world testing, that means you can launch a game, have it loading in the background while you're checking Discord, and still have enough headroom for a quick video and code without the system stuttering. The RTX 5070, with its 8GB of GDDR7, pushes a solid 1080p TO 1440p performance envelope. In titles that are GPU-heavy, like Elden Ring, you can comfortably sit at high settings and still hit around 7080 frames per second, which is plenty for the 144Hz screen. If you're a creator who also needs to dabble in video editing or 3D rendering, the combination of 16 cores and the dedicated ray tracing cores on the GPU gives you a decent dual-purpose workstation without needing a separate desktop. Memory and storage are where the Omen really flexes. With 32GB of DDR5 RAM out of the box, you won't be hitting the ceiling on multitasking anytime soon. Most gamers will never need more than 16GB, but having that extra headroom is useful when you're running OBS, streaming, and a game simultaneously. The 1TB NVMe SSD provides snappy load times. I've seen game worlds load in under 10 seconds, and the SSD's capacity is generous enough for a sizable library plus a few large AAA titles. HP also promises expandability up to 64GB of RAM and multiple storage slots, so the laptop can grow with you if you decide to keep it for several years. Connectivity is another practical factor. The Omen includes Wi-Fi 6E, which gives you lower latency and better performance on newer routers, a noticeable boost when you're playing online shooters that punish ping spikes. The presence of a Thunderbolt-compatible Type-C port means you can hook up an external monitor, dock, or even an eGPU if you ever need that extra horsepower for a heavy workstation task. Bluetooth 5.3 ensures a stable link with wireless headphones or a controller, which is something you'll appreciate in a gaming setup where you switch between wired and wireless peripherals often. Let's talk about the keyboard. The 4-zone RGB backlighting is more than just a flashy feature. It lets you assign different colors to WASD, the number row, or your macro keys, which can be a subtle but handy visual cue during intense matches. The keys themselves have a decent travel distance and a tactile feel, though they're not as deep as a mechanical board. For long typing sessions like writing a forum post or scripting a macro, you might find the key travel a little shallow, but it's not a deal-breaker for most gamers. Battery life is where many gaming laptops stumble, and the Omen is no exception. With a 90 Wh battery, you can expect around 3 to 4 hours of mixed use, some light browsing, a bit of video playback, and maybe a short gaming session at reduced settings. If you plan to game on the go, you'll need to keep the charger handy. That said, the charger itself is a fairly compact 230W brick, which is less bulky than some of the